Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Our big focus this hour, NewsX's sister newspaper, The Sunday Guardian, has revealed that Nirav Modi's return to India is imminent. Remember, he's been languishing for the last 6 years in a jail in the United Kingdom. He fled India after the 13,000 crore rupee PNB fraud came to light in 2018. Now he's lost his final legal challenge against extradition to India. The UK High Court has ruled that his removal to face trial in India would not violate his human rights. The decision was handed down by Justice Victoria Sharp, President of the King's Bench Division. Justice Sharp dismissed Nirav Modi's appeal, which had raised concerns about the risk of suicide, the adequacy of prison conditions in India and the fairness of judicial proceedings he would face upon his return. Nirav Modi's legal team contended that his mental health, specifically recurrent depressive disorder and suicidal ideation, would make extradition oppressive under Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. They also argued under Article 6 that Nirav Modi would not receive a fair trial in India, claiming prosecutorial overreach and political interference. His lawyers challenged the adequacy of suicide prevention measures at Mumbai's Arthur Road jail and claimed that Indian authorities had failed to provide concrete safeguards that would meet UK standards. However, these arguments were forcefully rebutted by the Crown Prosecution Service, which was acting on behalf of the Indian government. The CPS submitted that Modi's suicide risk, while real, did not meet the legal threshold of oppression. The CPS stressed that the Indian government had furnished reliable and precise diplomatic assurances regarding the availability of psychiatric care, constant surveillance and the possibility of specialist interventions as necessary. On the question of fair trial, the Crown maintained that India's judicial system functioned independently and that Modi would be tried under full public scrutiny with the opportunity to mount a vigorous defence. In her judgment, Justice Sharp accepted that Nirav Modi has a mental illness and that he is at risk of committing suicide, but concluded that the risk did not reach the threshold required to prohibit extradition. Justice Sharp's ruling removes the final legal obstacle to Nirav Modi's extradition. The matter now returns to the UK Home Office, which is expected to notify the Indian authorities formally and coordinate the logistical execution of his handover. Joining us to discuss this further is Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat. Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, is also with us live. Dr. Sharad Kohli, economist, joins us live. Dinesh Jotwani, advocate, Supreme Court, is also with us on the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first. Professor Nalapat, big Sunday Guardian exclusive. Nirav Modi's return to India imminent. His legal options seem to have run out.
Well, I would like to basically congratulate the UK justice system, because UK had a very bad reputation as a haven for all kinds of crooks and people who were smuggling and various other illicit activities in several countries, parking their money very safely in the UK. Now this particular judgment is indicative of the fact that that is no longer the case, at least so far as Sir Keir Starmer is the Prime Minister. That's a very welcome development. I want to point out one thing, Uday. You recall that when Nirav Modi made his getaway to the UK, there was a firestorm in India talking about the links between Prime Minister Modi and Nirav Modi. All kinds of wild accusations were cast at the Prime Minister, and even parodies of the name, which is deeply unfortunate. I mean the name. Well, you cannot parody a name. And frankly, you should not parody, individuals either. But the reality is, where are those people now? Where are those people who kept saying that, Nirav Modi is safe because he's being protected and the government of India is shielding him? Well, the last 6 years he's been in jail. He's not been in a 5-star hotel. He's been in jail. And now he's being forced to come back as a consequence of the very welcome decision of Justice Shah. And frankly, I think Justice Shah has done the right thing, because this reputation of the UK as a haven for illicit money should end for the good name of the UK. And again, I would like to say, before I stop, Uday, where are those who kept saying all kinds of things and allegations against Prime Minister Modi, citing Nirav Modi's, going to the UK, and where are they today? Where were they for the last 6 years when he was in jail? Where are they today? when he is back, let me tell you one thing. I can tell you very clearly that because of the amount of evidence that we can get now through the cyber world, I can tell you all those who defraud and all those who connive at that defrauding, one day or the other, they are going to be brought to justice and the people will have their say. So I think that's because of the advance of technology, I can tell you it's very difficult. You can run, but you cannot hide. Technology has made it impossible for you to hide. And all of us use technology. I mean, nobody is there without technology. So the good news is, frankly, that eventually all such wrongdoers will be brought to justice in whichever country that they are victimized. And India has got back Nirav Modi, and I'm sure he's not going to be the only one. There'll be others whom India will successfully be able to get back. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, Ambassador Bhashpati Mukherjee, come in here on this setback for Nirav Modi. Do you believe Justice Victoria Sharp's judgment is the final nail in his coffin?
Well, I won't use the word coffin because since he's a Hindu, he will not require a coffin. But it's certainly the last resort for him. I may like to add that this excuse about bad conditions in Indian jails is something we really need to counter vigorously. And we're doing it now because Indian jails are far superior to the ones I have seen in New York City or in France and in UK. There is overcrowding, there are violent prisoners put with non-violent prisoners, etc. In fact, if he is suicidal, Tihar jail offers meditation, yoga, and all kinds of other remedies to the convicts over there. And I'm sure he will be much more cheerful in Tihar jail than he would be rotting in some British colonial jail wherever he's rotting. The second issue is that this extradition marks a clear break from the earlier West obsession that will he be given a fair trial, will his room have an attached toilet, what are the human rights violations, etc. Because we have been able to bring back other high-level prisoners. I remember I was very much involved in the extradition of Abu Salem. And in the case of Abu Salem, because he was brought back with his girlfriend, I think called Monica Bedi or something, in a Portuguese jail, and he was going to face death penalty. So in a country which has death penalty and the person being extradited can face death penalty, we have to sign an undertaking that while we will extradite him, we will not give him the death penalty. That's what we did with Abu Saleh. Now, in the case of Nirav Modi, clearly he does not face death penalty in India. So there was no need to get into this kind of agreement because there is no death penalty in UK either, although it's now out of the use. I do believe also that if we pursue such cases vigorously, we will be able to bring back other high-profile prisoners. And I quite agree with Professor Nalapat that it was disgraceful the way that just because his surname happens to be that of our Prime Minister, that all kinds of false linkages were drawn. It's like saying, that I am related to every single Mukherjee in India. This is ridiculous. So, I mean, Nirav Modi, in fact, was an extortionist. He has denuded the country like a colonial looter, and I'm very glad that he's going to face justice under rule of law in India, where he has looted so many people. And as far as his depression is concerned, the moment his feet touches Indian soil, his depression will lift. So there.
Absolutely. And, the legal arguments as well, Dinesh Jotwani, by his team fell flat. Trying to argue that prisons in India are not, are not comfortable enough for him. Trying to argue that his mental health is weak, which is why there is a risk of suicide in India. These are all arguments that it seems have fallen completely flat, despite loopholes being attempted by his legal team to be exploited in the United Kingdom.
Yes, you're right, Uday. We can see the consequences now of what their legal team said. There is an old Greek saying that the wheels of justice turn slowly, but they grind very finely. So this is what has happened in this case. It was a long battle, but Indian government won that battle, And you remember a while ago, it was same with Thakur Rana also. He was also extradited. As far as the defense of their team is concerned, actually, as you rightly said, Justice Victoria, Victoria Sharp, he turned all the arguments which were raised, and it shows really in terms of number one, the legal system in India. He talks, Justice Victoria's judgment talk about um, the legal system in India. He mentions in the judgment, it's a fair system that we have. What about the under trials in the same offense? They have got fair hearing in India. So this observation, and Justice Victoria Sharp, he's from the King's Bench. So his observation with respect to Indian legal system is really goes well internationally, to say that India has a very robust, though it is Indian system, legal system is also slow, which I often criticize. But at the same time, we have a system that is fair. At least that part which their legal team had raised was rejected by Justice Victoria of King's Bench there. The second thing was mentioned, and again it is big accolades to the Indian system. They raised the point of human rights violations in India. He may not be given a kind of prison or the treatment. He may be, put in isolation. So all that on human rights perspective also, their defense, the defense team actually failed to establish that there are human rights violation in Indian prison. And third is also, the team that took the defense was with respect to suicide, kind of a healthcare problems in India. And they extensively showed that in India, in prisons, you can have depression, there will be torture that will be done. And again, this judgment is music to my ears. And when I read it, it actually shows that even with respect to the suicidal tendencies that he has, India has a robust, at least caring healthcare system which will be provided in the jail also. So ultimately, the point remains that
Absolutely. In fact,
what,
Dinesh Jotwani, you're right, because while Justice Sharp did admit that he has a mental illness, perhaps, that, there is not enough threshold to prohibit his extradition to India.
correct, and that's a very good point. And not he goes further. He actually says that India is a good healthcare provided in the jail also. So what actually it means is that the fair trial part of it will take place in India, and the only thing which we have to see, and perhaps that will be more at the diplomatic level that will happen, is what are the extradition conditions that are put. So 6 years, as we all know, he's already spent in UK jail, but will that be adjusted in the final conviction if takes place in India? Will that be adjusted or not? The second point is how long there may be conditions that the trial will take place in certain period. So that those kind of conditions, and whether the normal bail process that is there for Indian under trials, can he avail that bail process or not? So all these conditions perhaps are not very clear what will happen in India. I know in earlier Thakur case, there were certain extradition conditions that were given to Indian government, and perhaps we have that for Nirav Modi also. But I think that will be more of a diplomatic channel, and we'll have to see that. But I think this order, this judgment, sending Nirav Modi back is really good for and shows the robustness of our legal system, robustness of a fair trial system, our healthcare system, our government persistent system, which we talked about earlier, that the government has been really persisting in challenging these kind of proceedings taking place in foreign countries. And because they are, as earlier pointed out by Ambassador Mukherjee, also that it may it gives a bad light to Indian fairness of trial in India. So that is not there. That is of course not there. But when these proceedings are going on and these kind of defenses are taken uh, by the accused lawyers, and when they defend themselves in the foreign soil, all kind of mudslinging takes place. And I think this judgment is kind of a landmark judgment that has come in favor of not only Indian government but Indian legal system, Indian human rights, and fairness to the trial that is taking place.
Yes.
So, we are
Sharad
very,
Kohli,
very
come in here. How big of a setback is this for Nirav Modi and his legal team? Also, what will be the message sent out once he does come back to India eventually, and we hope very, very soon?
Sorry, is this question for me?
Sharad Kohli, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sharad, that question was for you. Did you manage to hear it?
Yeah, I did hear.
Okay,
I
go
thought,
ahead.
This was pointed to Mr. Jotwani, but nevertheless, I can answer as well. Well, I think it's a big setback. Well, let me first tell you at the outset that all these excuses of depression and suicide were lame excuses being given by his lawyer. There is no depression, and as if he's the first prisoner in India. Nobody has ever been in Arthur jail, and nobody has ever been a prisoner in India. The conditions in Indian jail are far better. And why should he be accorded a VIP treatment anyway? Is he looking for a 5-star hotel? Is he going to a jail, or is he moving to a 5-star hotel? All this is a load of rubbish, I must tell you. These are all lame excuses. He was trying to buy time year after year. Just court after court, appeal after appeal, bail after bail, applications after applications. It was a frustrating process. I must appreciate and congratulate the Indian authorities who have spent so much of time and effort in the UK courts over the last few years, and I hope the same fate is accorded to Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi as well. There are a few fancy fugitives still lying there. As far as Nirav Modi is concerned, Uday, I'm sure the NewsX viewers, in the many of the court and the multiple bail applications and appeals, sometimes people forget that what actually happened. 13,000 crore rupees, just as a very brief recap, 13,000 crore rupees letter of undertakings issued by Punjab National Bank from a Bombay branch on Union Bank, Allahabad Bank and Axis Bank on their overseas branches. In connivance with the PNB officials, he did that. Prevention of Corruption Act is the first act. Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA, those are, in my view, although we have a legal expert here, a very honorable, respected legal, but to my mind, 7 years seems to be the minimum which he's going to get. He's right. If 6 years is spent there, I will insist through your show to the Indian judicial authorities, please do not regard the UK jail that he has done. Let us start from zero. Let him pay the penalty here. His life is not in danger. If he has to die, he has to die. No suicide and all that is a load of rubbish. There is no question of suicide or depression. He should have gone into depression once he had swindled this money from the precious Indian public money. That's when he should have gone into depression. Not when he has to face the punishment, he has to go into depression. If he has to face depression, let it be. The Indian authorities will not let him die. He'll have to fulfill his sentence. And I think such people being brought to justice, UK, we all know what kind of a place UK is. Commit a crime here, go station yourself there and spend rest of your life in luxury and leisure over there. I'm so glad that Justice Sharp has finally given a sharp judgment. We needed a sharp judgment, and that sharp judgment has come. It is up to the Home Office now. There are procedural formalities. The Home Office will probably issue the extradition orders, and then the Indian authorities. So it might take, I'm sure Mr. Jotwani is a better person, but it might take a couple of weeks or maybe 2 or 3 weeks to bring him down here. I hope there is no further hurdle now. There is no new excuse which suddenly crops up. But as far as the Indian team is concerned, and we must also remember that some of his properties in India have already been confiscated. So some amount has been realized. The Indian system will not let him go till he is able to return those 13,000 crore rupees. I think that should be the condition while the Indian prosecution starts the case when the charge sheet is filed. But his team of lawyers in India, unfortunately, they do not stand any chance. So any lawyer who's listening to me right now, I think should not put his hand in this case, although he will find lawyers to defend himself, but it's not going to work. He's caused enough frustration. His delay that he has caused, the absconding that he has done, traveling around the world, hunting around the countries, trying to take citizenships, do all sorts of things. I think that has accumulated the crime. and he should be brought to justice without any further delay, Uday.
All right, let me in fact quickly also take that across to Professor Madhav Nalapath. Professor Madhav Nalapath, we saw how India successfully extradited Tahavur Rana recently from the United States of America. Now with the pace quickening on Nirav Modi's case, what kind of ripple effects will be felt on other cases involving other key fugitives, some of those who Sharad named, and others also, in not to forget Mehul Choksi, who continue to be abroad and evading the law?
The jail is a very tough situation to endure, but it's meant to be rehabilitative rather than vindictive. So I'm very sure that our court system and our jail system and the government of India principally will ensure that what happens is basically not vindictive at all. It is basically trying to ensure that this gentleman does not go wrong again. It's a very severe punishment given the expectation that he will not go wrong again. The second point I want to make, Uday, is that there's vast properties abroad, possibly much more than in India, and possibly still in India, that have not been attached by the government of India. I think now that there is an international public opinion against corruption, I think government of India needs to, and of course various other individuals who are like Sharad Kohli, who are interested in this kind of justice being served out. Those properties need to be attached by the government of India and auctioned for a good price, and the proceeds given back to the people of India, the very people who were swindled by these swindlers. So I think that is something that I am very certain will be done in this case. The next step will be taking over whatever illegal properties he has got, and if he has transferred somebody else, obviously it goes, the long hand of justice will go there also. I think it's very important today that the huge, some people have put an estimate long back of over $1 trillion US. I don't know if it's that big, but it's certainly substantial. I think that money, whatever it is, belongs to the people of India, and I'm certain that this government will work very hard to ensure that as much of that money comes back to the people of India as possible. Thank you, Uday.
Okay, let me take that in fact across to Ambassador Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, what sort of precedent could this case really have for the other cases as well, which are particularly pending in the United Kingdom?
I think it would be a very good precedent, and to the best of my knowledge, but it is for our very eminent lawyer, advocate colleague to confirm. To the best of my knowledge, it's a non-bailable offence. And secondly, normally the Brits, like the EU, they insist that the jail term spent already in UK should be counted, should be taken into account. That is for the Indian courts to decide. It's not something that we sign, but it's definitely something that we keep on board so that it doesn't hinder future extradition. So it is quite possible that an Indian court may say, okay, his offence is for, let's say, 15 years, he's already served this much, and a certain amount can be remitted due to good behavior. That would depend on how he behaves. But what is important here is that we have been able to finally establish ourselves as a country which has rule of law, which has fair trials, whose accommodation for prisoners is far superior. You cannot imagine the state of American jails where men and women are raped every night and they have to pay protection money. I have seen those jails. And for them to say that Indian jails are not up to the standard of his lordships and ladies is absolutely ridiculous. I congratulate my friend Sharad Kohli for saying what he did. And what I am very concerned about, and that again is for our legal colleague to confirm, that if he has blown up all this money that he has looted, so then what is the remedy apart from giving him a long jail term? How do we show to the Indian taxpayer that not only is he being punished, but some kind of compensation is given, because the way in which he has traveled around the world, and he has spent a fortune on UK legal assistance. None of it was free. He was defended by very good lawyers. How much money does he have left in his pocket? Maybe that's why he's depressed and going into suicidal mode, because now he's run out of cash.
Yes.
I think.
Okay.
I think that this.
What are the charges? What Dinesh Jotwani, come in there. What are the charges that he will face? Once he does come back to India, and we are determined to, of course, give him a trial here. I'm sure some of the money is already being recovered through attachments. Is that correct? In the Nirav Modi case, Dinesh Jotwani. Also, could this, extradition, once it does happen, be used as legal precedents as well, and in other cases which are pending before the UK of fugitives abroad?
Correct. I mean, to answer your first question with respect to money, I think whatever was in India has already been seized and attached. He has, of course, had the best of the lawyers defend his case in UK, and he must have spent money, but the kind of money in thousands of crores, 10,000s of crores that he had swindled, still need to be tracked. I don't think so he would have paid so much money to the best of the lawyers in UK and still have money. But that is, once, so the process is, once he comes to India, gets extradited, we approach the Indian court and we ask for a remand, police remand. So in which he doesn't go to the Tihar jail directly, but he is in the custody of NIA or FIU, which is Financial Intelligence Unit, or SFIO, which is Serious Fraud Intelligence Unit. So those kind of, or ED, Enforcement Directorate. So all these agencies, whichever is a nodal agency, would actually interrogate him and also find out where the money actually went. All that, this is not a small amount of money. I was told 13,000 crores that he has swindled. So all that money needs to be tracked, and even if it is, lying in the bank in UK or Germany or Switzerland, which are the safest kind of a bank account where people can have who have swindled the money. So even if it is lying there, Indian government can actually freeze it and bring that money back. So I have not lost hope, even if the money has gone outside India. The moment we have custody of Nirav Modi with the nodal agency, we should be able to know where exactly the money is, and we can seek a seizing order of that money and get that money back to India. Fortunately, we have all these treaties there that will prevent it. Yeah.
All right. We've run out of time. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. Let's slip into a very short break. Much more coming up on the other side.